I continue with a couple more that I've got. No?
From the counter side, you put in 8 unit that gas fired boiler, and then you put individual overhead units that operate, I guess, by thermostat control for each area, and just put the whole, one whole section.
Well, the way the system works is because you had so many relatively small rooms, we wanted to give good zone control. Zone control means people in that little area could be on their own thermostat. Now, there's some pluses and minuses to this system, I mean, believe me, but there's always those things. But what we did here with a 4-pipe system, in Chatham County and Savannah, you got high humidity almost all the time. So you got to get the moisture out of the building almost year round. But we wanted to give them individual controls for comfort because the kind of people that come in here, all these VPs in here didn't want to be uncomfortable. So we wanted to give them good comfort, good control, kept the people happy. And the 4-pipe allows you to heat and cool at the same time because different shades of the building, stuff like that. So, and we found that the water gives you the best control and it's energy efficient. And the school was very comfortable with air-cooled chillers. Again, to go to a water-cooled chiller with a cooling tower, there's a whole lot more maintenance involved than an air-cooled. And then they're very familiar with gas-fired boilers, all of which modulate to match the load, so you're safe. You're not just burning gas when you don't need it. It modulates. So it's a good. We thought it was a good choice.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
If you want to talk about current the energy performance contract, we have a guarantee payment
We,
for a year.
the question is, do any of us do energy performance contracts? We do owner agency for energy performance contracts as part of our sustainability services, meaning that we act as your representative to monitor the really the program that energy performance contract is putting in place. Because the key is evaluating is what they're proposing to you financially feasible. Does it make sense for your campus? Is it technically sound, meaning is it designed properly? So we kind of act as your oversight agency to make sure that all those things have been put in place and that it makes sense. So we usually help with writing RFPs, evaluating RFPs, and sitting in and developing the guidelines before getting to that. But we don't actually do performance contracting ourselves. It's kind of limited to about 4 or 5 firms right now that are doing that. And I won't give a commercial, but there's Chevron that does it. There's Johnson Controls. There's Honeywell.
Well, the power company will do it.
Your power companies will do it. Those are the local power companies do it. Those are probably the big 4, or there's a couple others that I'm missing in there. Siemens, how can I forget Siemens? We got a project now. Siemens is doing it. So 5 or 6 large companies, basically on performance contracting, for those of you that may not have known about or know it yet, is they basically take your mechanical system, redesign it, re-engineer it, give you all the equipment, and they finance it over a period of time by which you're paying slightly kind of like a small mortgage or so back to that company for usually 20 to 30 years. So we help in evaluating those things. Anything else? Any other questions that we've got? Paul, one last question for you. What was the timeline? I know Savannah State started off, in a really good project, an ambitious project. But because of the fire, there were a couple of delays. So from the start of the concept of restoring this particular building that was offline, if I'm not mistaken, and bringing it online, what was the length of time?
The timeline on this building was extremely long because, it was offline, and then we did that shell, then we had the fire, then we had a 2-year wait, then we did a design, then they put it back like pre-fire. Insurance companies are funny. All they would do was put it back like it was about to be before the fire started. And then, we worked on this job about 12 years. But that's unusual. Give me a break. Most of them don't have the fire. The fire was what sort of messed us up. No question about it. But when you saw that picture, guess what? What you gonna do? The other, let me mention about the performance based. A lot of times, JC hit it on the head. You got to look at what they're asking you to do in order to get the savings, because they're basically telling you you're gonna save money and then you can get the money back. A lot of times, those are really just financing deals. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you gotta look, if you're the accounting guy, you'll know, sometimes you can borrow money cheaper than what they're looking to lend you money. Now, if you got no borrowing capacity or whatever, okay, that might be a way to go. But where we've seen those things, is if the owner can borrow money, he can almost always beat the rate that group's gonna do. But, you know,
Yes, sir, in the black.
This is part of the presentation, but from a preservation perspective, working inside of that envelope, are there standards or guidelines, or is there a written plan that guides the actual work that ensures the building is restored and preserved and that sort of thing? I'm hearing the NEP.
Stop or halt your project tremendously. So start there with making sure you're having those discussions and almost having a town hall with the stakeholders that are involved, so they're on the same page, so that the campus doesn't suffer because of the two of them not being able to see things eye to eye, especially on a historic, I mean, you should anyway, but especially on a historic preservation project because of the sensitivity of the amount of limitation that you have to work with. Mr. Lawson, you had a question and I started talking.
Question about your home. After the fire, did the design change, after the fire? I saw the chimney there. What did y'all go back with, after the fire? Seeing the design change?
well, we ended up going back to a shell pad. We had to stabilize the roof, we had to rebuild the roof again and all the walls and sort of get it back to go, but it was still a shell building. The chimney's still there, we're using it for the gas flues because the boilers are in the basement. The boilers are in the basement. So,
You gotta come up from Albany to Savannah a little bit and look at it.
again,
You know, we have a chimney on campus, the young in the chimney around, the chimney that was, our Carolyn home.
Oh, yeah, that's true, uh-huh.
It's
Uh-huh,
not campus, right?
uh-huh.
It's standalone.
That's true, I forgot about that, yeah, you do.
We have a chimney probably about 30 feet, 30 or 40 feet.
Yeah, yeah. You guys have great historic preservation ideas and strategies on your campus. You should be applauded for some of that. Are there any other questions that we have? Well, I think we may have wrapped up in time for you guys to have one more break before we have dinner, if you're staying around for dinner. Thank you so much for your engaging questions and your time, and if there's anything else you want to ask, we'll be around for a little bit longer. Thanks so much.
good job, man. Good, excellent.
Thank you.
I think that's all right. I'm fine, right?
Great, yeah.
Good job, man. You did a great